The unprecedented assault when titans clashed over Crimson territory. Welcome to 2025. In one corner, former President Donald Trump back in action. In the other corner, Harvard University. This isn't just a minor disagreement, it's a fight for academic freedom. Trump's administration saw Harvard as failing civil and intellectual standards. They decided to step in, forcefully. The political air is thick with tension. Harvard found itself in the crosshairs. The administration wanted to reform it. This was a message to all institutions: comply or face consequences. Harvard became the arena for this contest. The implications stretched far beyond Cambridge, affecting the entire academic world. The big squeeze turning off Harvard's federal money taps. How do you bring a giant academic institution to its knees? Go for the wallet. In March, the administration froze $256 million in federal contracts with Harvard. By April, over $2 billion in research grants and contracts were frozen. This was a full broadside aimed at Harvard's research capabilities. The administration even moved to cancel the last remaining $100 million in federal contracts. The official reasons were noble-sounding fighting campus anti-Semitism and enforcing civil rights protections. Many suspected these reasons were a cover for other motives. The impact was immediate and devastating. The Harvard T.H. Chan School of Public Health, for instance, saw nearly half of its budget threatened. Vital research projects ground to a halt. Scientists like Sarah Fortune, a leading tuberculosis researcher, had their work stopped. Dean Andrea Baccarelli pointed out the obvious: federal funding is critical for breakthrough research. This wasn't just about numbers, it was about tangible harm to science and public health. The administration's actions were punitive, aimed at forcing compliance through financial starvation. The implications were far-reaching, affecting the entire nation's research and educational landscape. Trump's modest proposals remaking Harvard in his own image. The financial screws were being turned. The Trump administration had a shopping list of demands for Harvard. First up, leadership changes. They wanted new people running the show. Then came the policies. The administration demanded the elimination of diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives. Programs designed to create a more inclusive campus environment were targeted for demolition. Next, a ban on certain international students perceived as hostile to American values. The potential for arbitrary and discriminatory application was significant. Ideological audits of the curriculum, staff, and academic programs were demanded. Changes to the university's governance structure and hiring practices were also on the list. This was a comprehensive overhaul, dictated from Washington, D.C. The administration wanted to remold Harvard into something that reflected their worldview. This was an ambitious project of institutional re-engineering. The implications were profound, affecting the very identity of Harvard. Harvard's counterpunch: lawyering up against federal overreach. Faced with financial pressure and intrusive demands, Harvard stood its ground. Acting President Alan Garber rejected the federal demands outright. Garber argued that these demands exceeded lawful authority and infringed on the university's independence. Harvard took legal action to protect its autonomy. The lawsuit contended that the administration's measures were retaliatory and harmful to the nation's research and educational landscape. Garber emphasized Harvard's commitment to combating anti-Semitism and complying with the Supreme Court's decision on race-conscious admissions. However, he argued that these efforts should be driven by the university community, not imposed by the government. This was a battle for academic freedom, the freedom to conduct research without political reprisal, the freedom to teach diverse perspectives, the freedom for students to learn without undue government interference. Harvard's response was clear: we will not be cowed. We will defend our independence and the core values of higher education. The stakes were high, and the battle was far from over. Global shockwaves: when American academia sneezes, the world catches a cold. The world was watching the conflict between the Trump administration and Harvard. Esteemed international academic institutions issued statements of deep concern. They viewed the administration's actions as a worrying precedent. The impact on international students and the global flow of talent was stark. Admissions for the children of prominent world leaders were revoked. This created an atmosphere of uncertainty and fear. The chilling effect on international academic collaboration was undeniable. The broader economic and scientific impact of slashing research funding was significant. NIH-funded research benefits all of humanity. Halting research on global health challenges like tuberculosis had worldwide consequences. The administration's actions were a self-inflicted wound with serious implications. This wasn't just an attack on one university, it affected the global academic ecosystem. The stakes were high and the world was watching. The implications were profound, affecting scientific advancement and human well-being. A court-ordered breather, temporary calm in an ongoing storm. In May 2025, a federal judge issued a temporary block on President Trump's orders against Harvard. This provided a moment to catch a collective breath. But this was likely just an intermission, not the end of the show. The underlying legal battle was far from over. The administration's desire to reshape American higher education remained on the table. Threats to strip Harvard of its tax-exempt status were still being voiced. The Republican-led House had passed legislation aimed at taxing university endowments. The pressure was still on. This was a systemic challenge, not an isolated incident. Academic freedom was bruised and battered. Democracy grappled with questions about government power over independent institutions. The temporary court order provided a fragile truce. The battle for the future of higher education in America was ongoing. The world was still watching and the stakes couldn't be higher.